What is a stereotype that you battle with the most on a daily basis? I know it's a lot we could probably choose from. You know what I'm saying? But like, what's like a stereotype like you feel like you battle with the most on a daily basis?
Yeah, I was torn too. Probably like running late, probably like the main one for me.
Mm.
Even if it's like a few minutes late, it's like I don't like being late. So it's like if I'm like 5 minutes late, I'm like, man, I'm late. And that's a stereotype. So I mean,
Oh,
that's probably like one of the biggest ones for me.
it's so. I know we got all stereotypes, no matter race, ethnic group, religion, but like it was challenging because I feel like we battle with so many different ones. And the
Hmm.
one that kind of like I want to say like still kind of get under my skin, and even like sometimes I have to get myself in a mind frame of, yo, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody. It's just like, boy, all right, I play sports, and right now being, my profession, being in the fitness industry and my adult life, um, it's like I have to go harder to like prove my intelligence. And when we think about like the NBA is 75% blacks.
Hmm.
NFL, what, 65% black. And sometimes it seems like we're good enough to show off our speed or how fast we can go or we can slam or dunk a basketball, but it's like we can't have intellectual conversations about Mozart or science or history or whatever the case is. Even like us doing a podcast,
Hmm.
I've came across so many people who gave us so many compliments because not every episode we talk about sports. And then I come across those some people that feel like we don't talk about sports enough. And it's just like constantly feel like we fighting like to prove that we are smart. And it's like, yo, you don't have to prove that you're smart. You know what I'm saying? But I think like somewhere in like our subconscious, especially when you're an athlete. Come on, we all know that you get passed just because you on a team. Let you be a star player. Oh my
Hmm.
God. You know that's even more fuel to the fire. So it's like, damn, how many times, this person might have gotten a D or a F on a test or exam, but because we got this game coming up on Friday and we know that your grades need to be a certain type of way, we're gonna go ahead and just push you up to get that C. I remember like our GPA had to be at least like a 2.5. And when you think about it, it's like, damn, only a 2.5. And it's I think like a lot of times we put athlete first and the student part last when we can't be an athlete unless we a student first. I think that's like one of those like kind of battle with the most. I would say the most.
Working in an office setting for me, I don't know if it's a stereotype for black men, more or less, as I hear it a lot more for black women, but I have heard it for black men, but being like an intimidating black man, I'm kind of known around the office as a friendly guy, a nice guy. Um, and I even had conversations with my girlfriend. Like sometimes I think people approach me because they're intimidated. I would hope that's not the case, but sometimes that's what people do. You know what I mean? To avoid intimidation, they may just approach that person and try to strike up. So, obviously I'm a great guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm not trying to intimidate nobody. But
Hmm.
sometimes our natural facial expressions could look mean or could look like, hey, I'm not really
Unapproachable.
in the mood today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Maybe not so approachable all the time. So that's definitely one thing that I battle with because I find myself sometimes over smiling, and then I have to kind of bring myself back and be like, hey, just be natural, be yourself. You don't have to smile and cheese around here just to make everybody else feel comfortable because you're not going to do anything. You're a good guy. There's nothing wrong. So, but that would be one of them for me, I think, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one too. That's definitely a good one. I have people, come to me and say, "Oh, I was afraid to talk to you because the way your face look." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm a good dude, man.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing, ain't nothing crazy about me."
And
Mhm.
And
I've heard that a lot about, not about myself. I'm sorry to cut you off too, but
yeah,
I've heard that about other people. You know, like man, I'm scared to go talk to him because he just always looks grumpy or always. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's somebody that I know, and I'm like, nah, that's the opposite of how they are. That's just how their face is set up. You know, it's just one of those things. But my bad, too. I didn't mean to
nah,
cut you
nah,
off.
nah. You totally right, bro. That's I think that's a stereotype. We may just be fighting for the rest of our lives, and it's unfortunate because it's like I can't do nothing about like the black men you've came across. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe the black men you came across, maybe they had an attitude problem. I don't know. I can't necessarily speak for them. However, and I find myself doing this at times, you can't just categorize everybody because of your experience. And I know that's challenging because that's even challenging for
Mhm.
me. I had conversations with like people in general. And I remember this woman was like, why can't more black people be like you? Right. And I was like, before I before I spaz out, right? Because angry black men, right? All we know is violence. That's it.
Mhm.
All we know is violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do you mean by that? Right? Because I gave you some kind of comfortability. And I think that's what it is. Like, I gave you some kind of comfortability that you could just say this. But now that I've given you this comfortability, I want you to expand on it. And she was like, well, you're polite. Um, you know how to speak eloquently, and you don't seem like you seem like you're approachable, right? And what I was telling her was, well, not all black people that you run into is like that, or whatever the case. You feel like black people are the opposite of what I have been to you. But I can tell you that a lot of times when you prejudge people, a lot of times you're wrong, you know, and just judging somebody off of how they look is one thing, because when they open their mouth, it could be something totally different. Be something totally different. And you can never judge a book by its cover. In another way, bro, I remember the first time I went back to go see some of my old friends that I thought was friends when I like my first semester after college, and how I was treated. And they was saying, "Oh, you trying to act white?" I'm trying to act white because I'm going to school, because I'm learning about this, because I'm trying to further my education. And sometimes it's like you're not black enough for the black people. And sometimes it's like getting that from that white woman. It's just like it's frustrating, and it's draining at times, because it's like you got to go through this with people of an opposite race. You got to go through this with people in your race. And it's just like at the end of the day, it's all to separate all of us. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about separation. And it's like, damn, man, like, will racism ever truly go away? Will
Right.
colorism ever truly go away? Because we have so many fights among us, and it don't even have to be like that, you know? And I know I could have cursed that woman out, but why don't I show her what she's not used to seeing? And
Mm-hmm.
not because I'm trying to prove a point, but just because I'm just being me. Now, is it at times when I want to get into my other side? Yes, it is. But as I mature, and especially with having a little one on the way, I have to realize, like, what's gonna hurt me more? Me snapping your damn neck, or me trying to get away from the situation? Even though my ego and my pride is gonna have me feeling like, yo, back in the day, we would have handled this completely different.
I think it's I think it's the disrespect that we feel sometimes that you know, and that's what makes us feel that way. It makes us
Mhm.
feel like we got to revert to some old ways. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, or something like that. Because yeah, I've been in that situation many times. Even with black people. Like you said, it could be people of the same race where you got to explain to them that like, hey, all black people don't operate the same way. We're not all
Mm-hmm.
wired the same way. We're not all bad people. We're not all lazy. You know what I'm saying? We don't all complain. Like trying to explain that to people is frustrating, and yeah, it makes you want to slap. slapped them in the back of their head because it's just like, where do you get this ideology from? But yeah, the best thing we could do is just educate because going the other route usually doesn't help.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, my 4G. I don't mean to cut you off. Mel, you just said something. Where they get this ideology from, right? Uh I haven't read this book before, but I have it in my library. And it's called what is it? Jewish Hollywood or Hollywood. It's something to the nature of that. And it talks about how the Jews infiltrated Hollywood, right? And what happened was when they started seeing these movies and they didn't like how they were being depicted in the movies. So they said, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and we're going to become these producers. We're going to become these directors. We're going to become these writers because then we're going to show you how we want to be depicted. And like that's what the story is about. And I just thought that was like so dope because as a community, they came together and said, you're showing Jews in this light? Nah, we don't like that. So we're gonna do something about it. And I honestly feel like now again, we know that like that whole comment, like we know we can go into some extra details about that, right? But I thought it was dope because they seen something, they didn't like how they was portrayed, and they said, nah, we're gonna go ahead and change that. It's so much more to us as black people than New Jack City. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's so much more to us than just a typical drug kingpin. Don't get me wrong. It's some shows that I like that. I love me some power. You know what I'm saying? I love me some power. You know what I'm saying? However, that's not the only ghost that I want to see being portrayed for a black man. You know what I'm saying? Um, and honestly, Mel, I think a lot of times, bro, they looking at these movies and they're like, "Oh my god, did you see how he was in that movie?" That's how they are in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think like now I'm not using that as an excuse to condone their behavior and how they treat us. I'm not saying that at all. But I honestly think like some of these people are watching these movies and they're like, they're just like that in real life. They're drug dealers. They listen to the music and they disrespect their women. They call them all trying to be. Damn, I can't say it because YouTube, we not gonna be able to monetize, but y'all know what I mean. Um, they're no good fathers, and it's like, yo, like, nah, that's that us as black people, the only people that got a problem with it. But for some reason, it seems like we the only people that's it being advertised on when it comes to this media, whether it's TV or apps and Instagram and things of that nature, man. So
I've had like different incidents in the past, and when I go to like a professional setting, right? And you got people there that's like in suits and ties and things of that nature. We having a casual conversation, and then the question gets brought up, like, "Have you ever thought about cutting your hair?" And I said, "Well, why you asked that?" And they said, "Well, it's more presentable for you like to have like a buzz cut, or that's like a more presentation scenery like for success or whatever." And I'm like, well, what does hair have to do with like becoming successful? I can have a buzz cut and still be a savage. You know what I mean? Like, what does hair have to do with me, in my path to success? I don't think that should be like a thing where we look at like why does hair or why does a person having hair have to be like, oh, he's a thug, he's this, he's that, like, he looks this way. Like, no, like shouldn't be that way. I can have a short hair, buzz cut, and still be that same thug. Like,
that's a good
doesn't
one.
matter.
That's a real good one.
I mean, and you ask anybody, it's like, yeah, the group of dudes wearing dreads walking down the street, automatically you're gonna think something bad. And it's like, for what? They could be, you know what I'm saying, coming to help.
College degrees and everything.
They could be
Like,
coming, yeah, they could be firefighters. So it could
yeah.
be,
Bro,
whatever.
I had to check myself, and wifey and I had this conversation the other day. We was coming home and I had to check myself because it was like a group of black people. And I was like, the hell they doing out there? Right? Now, I'm the type of person where I'm gonna check it regardless. I don't care if it's black people, I don't care if it's white people. We had some. I was going out to take the trash, and I seen a group of white people, and I was like, "What the hell going on?" I,
Yeah.
I'm
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 the same
aware
way. I
because
don't care.
we live here. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Yeah.
live here. You know what I'm saying? So
Everybody's strange.
I need to go. I need to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But like I've had people say, if it's a group of black guys walking down the street and it's a group of white guys walking down the street, I feel more comfortable going down the street where the white guys are going towards me because of what I thought was depicted from you guys in the media. Is she wrong? No, because that's her feelings. But I do believe that I'm not going to say it's a little bit of ignorance, but I do believe that you have to do your job and your due diligence in knowing that everybody isn't the same way. So just because you see this group acting this way does not mean that that's the thing for everybody. I remember after 9/11 happened, that was probably one of the most challenging times. That was the most challenging time in being a Muslim. Like, and I remember like that was still back in home phones. So when we pick up, we used to say Assalamu alaikum. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I didn't hate it, but I just really disliked it because if you never knew that I was Muslim up until that point in time, then you probably knew it right after you called my house, right? And you know, my parents were the type that, you know, I didn't necessarily have to wear jalabias, but we made sure that we prayed, right? Made sure that we went to the masjid, make sure that we we fast and everything to that nature. So they, you know, pops never ran the house as a dictatorship. You know what I mean? The 9/11, bro, like I kind of felt like embarrassed being a Muslim. I'm not even gonna lie to you because it was so much scrutiny. And it wasn't until like maybe like 16, you know, as I'm getting like older and like not trying to please people and realize like, yo, you have these radicals. However, they don't represent every Muslim on the planet. The same way how if I'm saying, okay, well, every white guy with a mask remind me of Michael Myers. That would be me putting white men in a box. You know what I'm saying? Or whether it's somebody who's, you know, into, you know, being a pedophile or murder or whatever the case may be. You can't just put everybody into this one box. You know what I'm saying? Just because now I understand because of your experiences, that is where you're coming from. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but all I'm saying is because you attract dudes who know good, that don't mean every man walking out here mean you harm. That's just the people who you attracting. And you got to fix your energy. You know what I'm saying?